Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach HaKodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace, love, salutations, and blessings to the house of David, which is the elect. And just real quick, breaking news coming from the New York Times. It says China hacked Treasury Department in major breach, U.S. says. The department notified lawmakers of the episode, which it said was linked to a state-sponsored actor in China. And, this has been something that has been frequent, within this past year. Even going back a few years back, you had the WEF guys like Klaus Schwab and his think tankers have been steady speaking about a cyber attack emic, right? A cyber attack pandemic, which would make the CV emic look like a small disturbance. So as we close out this year, there's been a couple incidences where I can just remember off the top. You had the AT&T and Verizon, which this article speaks on, that cyber attack that happened in the summertime. You had the American water systems that had an attack, cyber attack in October. What else you had? Can't think of anything else, right now. But as we're seeing that these so-called cyber attacks are becoming more and more sophisticated, and they are breaching rather more critical infrastructures. Okay, and the Treasury Department clearly, is a important, department in the whole economic system of Babylon the Great. So for this to be something that was able to be infiltrated and hacked is, very telling. The times that we're in. This is, which is why we always have to be sober-minded, right? We always have to be circumspect of what's going on in the world, because from one day to the next, things can change dramatically. And a lot of people are not aware of these things because they are, as the scripture says, children of the dark, right? Children of the night. But we are not children of the night. So when these things take place, we are fully aware of these things, and ultimately knowing that the times that we're in, that sudden destruction can strike at any time, right? That's why it's called sudden destruction. But let's just go into this article and read what it says. It says that a state-sponsored actor in China hacked the U.S. Treasury Department, gaining access to the workstations of government employees and unclassified documents, the Biden administration said on Monday. The announcement comes after revelations in recent months that China has penetrated deep into U.S. telecommunication systems, gaining access to the phone conversations and text messages of U.S. officials and others. Now, I'm going to stop right there, because this right here should be very alarming, right? It should be very alarming that China, which isn't a U.S. ally, right? It's clearly an adversary of America, more so economically, but the militarily is ramping up as well because of what's going on, over there with Taiwan, and also the allies that China has, namely Russia. All right, so the fact that you have China penetrating deep into the U.S. telecommunication systems and other critical infrastructures should be very alarming, to Babylonians, right, to Americans. But yet the fact that Americans are in that careless mind state, which the scripture says, the people of the daughter of Babylon will be in, is the very reason why things like this is happening, and people are just going about their days as if nothing's happening, right? As if everything is all fine and dandy, right? And this is, why it's going to come upon them, as a thief in the night, man. Their destruction is going to come upon them unawares. So reading on, it says, in a letter informing lawmakers of the episode, the Treasury Department said that it had been notified on December 8th. So this happened, what's that? 21 days, 22 days ago. Yeah, 22 days ago. But yet now it's actually being disclosed, right? It says by a third-party software service company, Beyond Trust, that the hacker had obtained a security key that allowed it to remotely gain access to certain Treasury workstations and documents on them. Based on the available indicators, the incident has been attributed to a Chinese state-sponsored Advanced Persistent Threat (APT) actor, the letter said. In accordance with Treasury policy, intrusions attributable to the APT are considered a major cybersecurity incident. All right, so this is considered a major cybersecurity incident. And these cyber attacks, are not going to disseminate, right? They're not going to just go away as the Lord continues to bring forth the destruction of Babylon the Great, which is Esau's kingdom, right? As he continues to ramp up this, tension between the East and the West, the BRICS and NATO and the EU. Things like this are just going to escalate and elevate in its in its what's the word I'm looking for? In the criticalness of it, for lack of a better word. Can't think of the exact word I want. But it's only going to get worse with time. All right. It says the Treasury Department said it had worked with the FBI, the intelligence community, and other investigators to determine the impact of the breach. And they always say that, right? They gotta always, determine the impact of the breach. And before, which I've mentioned before in the video, you've had these companies that have gotten hacked, and they always say that they are not yet, fully aware of how deep the hack is, or how much information was obtained, and all these things. Okay, and then it seems to get swept under the rug. But the simple fact that they are able to hack into these systems, which are supposed to be highly, guarded, right, systems, it shows you that this place is truly that place of unwalled villages, not just physically, but even, infrastructurally, right, in its security, as far as the databases. It says the compromised, and it's funny because in the technology world, right, they call it firewalls, right? And the firewalls are supposed to be able to block any malware or any hackers from being able to get through. But clearly, America's firewalls are not serviceable, right? So there's unwalled databases as well. It says the compromised service has been taken offline, and there is no evidence that the Chinese state actor still has access to Treasury information, the department said. In a statement, the Treasury spokesman said that the department took threats against its systems and the data they hold very seriously, and that it would continue to work with the private sector and government agencies to protect the financial system from hacking. Now, if you recall back in, I want to say 2022, at the end of 2022, around December, or might have been 2023, you had a financial, let's see if I can find it, cyber attack simulation. Let's see, come up. Let's see what pops up. Here we go. So it was at the end of 2021, so about 3 years ago, right? But yep, I remember this video. I mean, this article, and we, brothers have done videos on it. It says exclusive IMF 10 countries simulate cyber attack on global financial system. Right, then the 48ers was the one that led this 10 country simulation of a major cyber attack on the global financial system in an attempt to increase cooperation and could help to minimize any potential damage to financial markets and banks. All right, so this was back in December of 2021. Interestingly enough, December 9th, and they said that the Chinese, this Chinese state-sponsored hacker did this in December 8th, right? So we made mention that they do these simulations, right? They do these simulations like this to basically see how people, how the actual banks will react, and also to see how people will react as well. Okay, and how they would, should react in that situation as well. And ultimately, they do this so that when it actually goes live, they know what to expect. Okay, so this is why we gotta, like I said before, we always gotta keep an eye out on these things, because they're not just doing these simulations just for the hell of it. All right, it's called the revelation of the method. All right, look that up. The revelation of the method, which is Esau basically revealing or showing you what he plans to do before he does it. That's why you got predictive programming. You got things like The Simpsons that show things happening and then they ultimately do take place, because that's Esau trying to play like the Most High, right? Declaring the end from the beginning. All right, but little does he know he's also in the trick bag. All right, the same trap that he's trying to set, he's going to fall into, because the pride of his heart deceived him. Right. So reading on, it says the Treasury Department did not clarify when the episode took place, but said it would reveal more details in a forthcoming report to Congress. Chinese officials have long denied any government role in hacking and have set up dialogues with the United States to work together on cybersecurity. Earlier this month, officials from the Treasury Department traveled to China for a round of meetings of their economic and financial working groups, which cover collaboration on cybersecurity issues. Hey, that's reminds me of the scripture where it says that they that have been at peace with thee have laid a wound under thee, right? Because you have, let's read that real quick. Obadiah 1, verse 7. It says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. All right, because although China is an adversary, like I said, mainly economically to Babylon the Great, they still do business with each other, right? China still exports a lot of goods over here to America. America still uses a lot of the Chinese software, technologies, fabrics for clothing and all those things. And that's why Trump is talking about putting 100% tariff on China's goods and services, which ultimately is going to just get passed down to the consumers here in America, right? Because all China would do is just raise the prices of their goods, right? And then so that they can offset the tariffs, and then that's just going to get passed down to the consumers here. So, victuals being so good cheap ain't gonna be so good cheap, in the coming days, right? You think you're in a good case, but that's not gonna be that for much longer. Okay. Reading on, it says, recent reports of a separate breach in the U.S. telecommunication systems by a Chinese hacking group nicknamed Salt Typhoon has raised concerns about the vulnerability of U.S. systems. Microsoft cybersecurity team discovered that hacking this summer, which targeted the networks of AT&T, Verizon, and Lumen, it gave Salt Typhoon, a group that is thought to be closely linked to China's Ministry of State Security, access to conversations held by Donald J. Trump and J.D. Vance, among other Americans. Says the Salt Typhoon hackers also obtained a nearly complete list of phone numbers the Justice Department has wiretapped to monitor people suspected of crimes or espionage, giving Chinese government insight into which Chinese spies the United States has identified. In response to the hack, the Commerce Department said earlier this month that it would ban the few remaining operations of China Telecom, one of the country's biggest communication firms, from the United States. So, like I said, I just want to bring this out real quick, and also just once again being mindful, being circumspect of the times that we're in, and knowing that Esau could very well try to use such situations like this, just like how they did with the CV, right, where it started over in China, and then it ended up spreading to Babylon, and then once it got here, they shut everything down, and then from that, they, brought forth this idea of this great reset and Operation Warp Speed, and the digital system, right? So remember, that just came from a V that was in a lab all the way in China, and from that, as they said, there was a golden opportunity moment to seize the moment, okay, that thing caused. And something like a cyber attack could be the same thing that Esau uses to catapult further his agenda of ultimately bringing in that digital system. All right. So, a black swan event. All right. A major cyber attack that, brings down or cripples the financial economic system. All these things can just start from something like this. And then Esau just, these devils, the spiritual wickedness in high places, they can use that to further push their agenda. So, that's just something to be mindful of as well. So as the scripture says, and I'll just close it out, that we are not to be ignorant, right? 2 Corinthians 2, verse 11, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices, all right? We're not ignorant of his plans, right? His evil purposes, okay? The things that he ultimately desires to accomplish on the earth, which is really all designed by Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai anyway. So we already have insight on what is to take place. We're just watching to see how it actually unfolds. All right, so, with that, I'll end it there, Lord willing. This was edifying unto the elect. Until next time, shalom.